We're live. Hello, everybody. Hello and welcome to the Blue Abroad show here on the Blue Abroad YouTube channel. It is Monday, the 14th of July, 2025. We are here after round 18 to talk about much of the same, I think, but we have a new friend and a new guest. Sorry, an old friend, but a fresh guest. Hello, Chloe. Welcome back.
Great to be back here. Not great circumstances, but keen to have a chat regardless. Much of the same at the moment. Just getting through, but keen to discuss anyway.
Remind me again the last time you were on. It was early in the year.
Yeah, I think that we were doing some preseason predictions that definitely haven't unfolded. So personally, I'm not going to go back and watch that because it will probably just make me upset. But I'm pretty sure that was the last time we caught up. So plenty has changed between now and then.
Is the last time you were here when I was in Thailand sitting on that rooftop balcony and you were giving me the training update? Was that the last time? I thought you did a show. Could have sworn
No, I
you
think
did
we've
a show.
done. I think we did a show with preseason predictions, but I think they were pretty close together. So yeah, that was definitely a different time. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah, I predicted 16 wins in my. Well, it was weird because in my actual season preview, I'm like, I felt this darkness for the year, but then did my ladder predictor and I saw 16 wins. I swear it was so clear.
Yeah, I think ours was similar at that point in time, but I didn't feel the darkness, so you were onto something there for sure.
When did you, like, everyone's got their threshold this year. Some people saw it in round one. Some people saw it in the preseason game and thought season was over after the St Kilda preseason game. When did it really kick in for you this year where you said to yourself, oh, it's rock bottom?
Well, it's been a long and interesting year. I think for most people, well, for me, I was sitting at the round one game, and after the first half, we were about 40 points up. I thought to myself, gee, we're 40 points up but haven't been playing that well. Hopefully we can kind of, get into a bit more of it. Like the turnovers were there in that first half. They were well and truly there, but obviously capitulated in the second half. And I thought to myself, well, that wasn't ideal. Hopefully we can learn from it. After that, I thought the output was a bit better despite being 0-4. I saw some changes, but it was just still the turnovers that kept lingering, like amongst other things, obviously. But I don't think it until, honestly, that Port Adelaide game, or the North game, actually, yeah, before the Port Adelaide game. But because there's only so many times you can hold on to signs of things you're seeing, or, maybe people come back next week. It's just one more. Because I think a lot of the time for me this year, it's been just one more piece to click, but the piece has not come. Like for me, the kicking inside 50 was always, like, I think I wrote about it quite early on in the year, was that, there was a lot of other stuff going right aside from that. But then from that point, once the pressure built with the losses, the outside noise, they didn't react great, and I think it's just kind of snowballed from there. But around the North Port game is when it really set in. Like obviously there had been massive red flags before that, but once your season's over, I think that's a pretty big, even the most optimistic person, which I do quite like to be, you kind of can't ignore that anymore. So probably around that time. But I don't blame anyone who saw it earlier.
Yeah. Wayne saw it Crows mid-year. I think I saw. Yeah. Well, those of you watching, when did you know, like for real, like for sure, you're like, oh, this isn't just a poor year. This is like a bad year. So when I watched Sydney was bad over there because of the second half collapse. The GWS, yeah. So the Giants game for me is when I watched the replay, I thought, oh, this actually should have been worse than what it was, and we got away with it a little bit there. And then I thought, okay, maybe it's just poison that's just seeped in. And then we had the bye, and I thought I wasn't confident that we would dominate the Bombers or the Eagles, but whatever, got the wins. And then just before that North game, I thought, you know what? This is it. Last chance. Yeah. Last chance. Get it to 7-7 and sort of go from there. And then, the North game was where I fully accepted, oh, it's one of these ones.
Yeah, I actually forgot that was the week before Port. It's kind of all blended together in my head, but that was definitely very jarring. I think the Giants is a good example, though, because I think a lot of the problems that are still existing in the past few weeks, despite, the Giants have been playing well, but despite probably some better opposition, I think the same issues we can all agree are still there. So I think that's when they kind of came to the fore, and it was kind of made known that they weren't going away. So, yeah, I think it's probably quite a good example, because there were so many times at the start of the year where it was like, still in the game going into the third quarter and you just kind of don't get to the end. But when it becomes a theme, and then the Giants game, it kind of became a theme with also a bigger margin, then you really start to pay attention too. So good call there, I think.
Well, the reality is this, Chloe. We are sitting here 6 wins, 11 losses. Let me just repeat that. We had to check. 6 wins, 11 losses. It is what it is. We're here. If we're really here, then I think, I don't know if there's any use just continuing to remind ourselves that we're here. We can do that. That's fine.
Yeah.
But I think the idea for a lot of us, or for me anyway, is, okay, what's next? Where to next? And it's weird because we'll talk about it. That'll be the theme of a lot of the shows this week. It's all about, what's coming, or who's coming in, and who's going to be a part of the future. But then there's just this weird, awkward spot for the next month and a half where you just kind of got to sit in it. And it's like the ultimate test of supporting.
Yeah. Definitely a test, because I feel like it kind of is at that point where, there is so much that has gone wrong, and it is probably almost, I know that it's hard because I'm not sure that everyone agrees with this, but it is almost too much of a hard ask to see any major changes in this next 4 weeks. Like, there will be positives that we can find or hope to find, but, with so much pressure on, it's the middle of the season, so much water has gone under the bridge. I think, to see, well, what even would be the point now of seeing a major turnaround? Like, it'd be great, but it would kind of be like that comeback against North Melbourne, where it's like, well, good to see something, but why now, sort of thing. So I think we can all agree that there'll probably be a relative amount that goes on in the off season, but it's kind of in limbo, just waiting for that period of time. So you kind of just have to grit your teeth and bear it, I think, at this point, which, is not where we want it to be at all. It's normally the time of year where you're excited about how you can push towards finding your best form for finals. But yeah, it's not the situation that we find ourselves in. Hey.
Yeah. Do you subscribe to the theory that, okay, like finals is done, like clearly mathematically out of the equation now, I'm pretty sure. Similar to 2019. And there was just, we were at a caretaker coach level back then. Teague taken over and started winning. And that didn't mean anything, the wins, but it just gave us something to cheer for on game day. Like I'm still trying to enjoy the football,
Yeah. I definitely think it has kind of gotten to that point. Of course, it would be great to just finish the year with lots of W's, but which, it's always possible. But I think, in terms of major changes, like, I don't really think we'll just rock up and suddenly have the kicking efficiency that we should have.
True.
For example.
Oh, man.
There's so stuff like that requires a full focus across a preseason, and I wouldn't expect to see that. Maybe at the start of the year, after 4 rounds, I was thinking, okay, this is something that I would be hoping to see fixed in season. But at this point of the season, something like that, for example, I would not be expecting to see change. But there's obviously always small things you can work on, and it's just tough.
It is. All right, let's take a look. Let's quickly go through round 18 against the Lions. Did you see anything in round 18 that you think, okay, can we bottle that up and use that for the future? Like, anything at all? Chat, those of you watching can obviously contribute to this as well. Because, like you said, the issues have not changed, will not change. The kicking, the decision-making, all there, very clear. But, like, was there anything that's worth bottling up for the future?
Well, I honestly think, in terms of effort, it was the best that I'd seen for a fair while, especially up to halftime. There was, once again, it's just really difficult when 2 weeks in a row you kind of play the same game with, collapsing a bit in the third term. But I think that compared to the Collingwood game, we actually had chances we could have taken, missed in front of goal, and it kind of just saps a bit of the energy out of the game. But I think just watching the game, I think that it was a bit better viewing. It didn't make me quite as frustrated as other games, but I thought Harry O'Farrell had a really great game. I thought I definitely saw something in terms of presenting from Moya. Definitely worth, I think, him playing the rest of the season if he can. And I think the midfield worked a lot better than it had in weeks before. I think, it's a really hard spot to be in, and I know that everyone has their own opinions on this, but I just think Pito works quite well with that midfield unit in terms of giving them the service that they need to then be able to project the ball inside 50. I think there is obviously still an issue in terms of outside run, but I just think it looked a little bit better. The decision making was still not great, but even if there was a few opportunities taken in front of goal, potentially the scoreboard pressure would have been a bit better and we might have seen a relatively different outcome. I mean, it's hard when you have so many young players playing against one of the best teams in the comp. And that's not the position that we were in 2023. The reinforcements that we had some experience. They're a bit older, so it's definitely a bit of a different position to be in. But
yeah,
there were some red flags that I saw as well, but they were the positives.
Yeah, I mean, I thought we were
How
actually.
did you view it? Yeah.
I thought we were in the game. I mean,
Yeah.
but for the first 5-10 minutes, I actually thought we were in the game for the most part in that first half, and then it just felt like we're not very good at the moment.
Yeah.
We make errors and we get punished for errors quickly. And then it doesn't help when you have just those 50-50 random things go against you.
Yeah.
For example, the Cowan umpire collision. Like, when does that happen?
Never. Not unless you're on the trajectory that we're on. But I think what you said there about getting punished easily is probably something that obviously it's not a positive, but I wanted to mention briefly. I think they scored about 70-something points off turnover, and so did Collingwood. So it's just one of those things where I think that at the moment we're not defending turnover well, but the turnovers were pretty similar. They had a similar amount of turnovers and we weren't able to punish them in the same way. So it's very hard to watch as a viewer when you see that it's like anytime you make a mistake, which we like to make mistakes at the moment, it just gets punished so severely. And then, as you said, add on some of those sorts of random events, and it can be frustrating, especially when I think we were in the game, and it's a bit difficult. But
so I mean, you've got the Cowan collision, you got the real soft free kick against O'Farrell. Pito doesn't take a lot of marks, gets criticised for it. I thought he should have been paid the mark. It didn't get paid the mark, and then the ball literally just flings to D50 straight away. They kick a goal from that, and then it doesn't help when you've got, I mean, Curnow, Cripps, Moya miss 3 shots in a row. The Cripps one, okay, fine. Maybe it's a tricky shot, but the Curnow one and the Moya one, very gettable by their standards. And it all just compounds. And somebody actually came on the fan cams. I think it was Tolls, and he had a poster behind him of Murphy's Law. And it actually resonates really well. It's like, whatever can go wrong will go wrong. Yeah. And it just feels that way at the moment.
But there were some of those goals where had I kicked those ones and it really would have lifted the team, I think, and also just kind of growing that belief, because belief is just something that when you don't have it, it's very hard to kind of get back, especially when you're in a situation like we're in. And I think it's so important to some of those 50-50s going your way. Like even for someone like Charlie, when he's really on a roll, when he wheels and goes from 50, it's always going to go in. But at the moment when he's kind of trying to make something happen out of nothing, it'll just scrape the post or just drop short, and those small things won't really fall your way. So I feel like that does make it difficult at the moment. It feels like probably for the players too, like when it feels like everything's against you. Just to even, honestly, Pito's torp was probably the highlight of watching footy for me this year. And I felt like that was going to be the moment to lift everyone, lift the team, which it kind of did. But you just need a few more of those moments consecutively almost just to break through that feeling of, that we kind of can't do it anymore, which kind of would probably start to creep in at that point.
Yeah, I mean, I thought they worked pretty hard, and sometimes you need some luck, and hard work will find you luck. And I did think that Pito goal was that little bit of footy magic luck that you get when you just work hard, and it was after the siren, so we all had a good 5 minutes, 6 minutes, 7 minutes, however long the quarter time break is, to just revel in it. And then I mean, the negativity creeps into me pretty quickly now, because I was sitting with my group of people that I was with, and I'm like, you watch, out of this first bounce, start of the second quarter, they're going to kick a goal. And they didn't kick a goal straight away, but it was a repeat stoppage. And then just like it was drawn up. Like they isolated McGovern on Charlie Cameron on the lead, and it was just perfect and precise. And
the kicking inside 50 was something to be very jealous of. So
yeah,
it was
yes,
great
it was.
delivery. Yeah.
Yes, it was. So yeah, the third quarter was for me pretty demoralizing, if I'm honest. Like pretty flattening. Just
Yes.
yeah, it's just such a trend of 2025. Something about the third quarters. If it wasn't the 5-goal swings a few years ago, then it's the poor starts. Poor starts seem to be fixed. Now it's the third quarters. Like, I don't know.
The third quarters, and that's the thing, is because you think, say, you know, even if you're 4 goals down at halftime, you think, well, if you get the first one, then you just need to get one more and break even for the rest of the quarter, and you've got a game in the fourth. But that never seems to be what happens. Like even in the Collingwood game, it was pretty similar. It always goes the other way, where instead the opposition just pile goals on. And I think a fair bit of that does come off turnover as well, which doesn't help when some of the turnovers could be easily avoided. But yeah, it's when it's going against you, it's going against you. So it does make it harder. But yeah, that's something that I think definitely needs to be addressed in the off season. But I don't think it's necessarily an easy fix now, like I've probably first thought it was at the start of the year.
Yeah. Anything else to take away from round 18 before we put a lid on it and throw it away and never think about it again? Actually, no, we will think about one moment from the game, but maybe not the rest.
Well, so our goal efficiency was actually 20% when going inside 50, which I think it was about 26 for Brisbane. So, I mean, they had a pretty shocking day in front of goal too. So it's not really necessarily a great comparison. But I think if you think about the ones that we could have had that we should have kicked, those momentum changing ones you were talking about, and then there was one from Fogg, one from Motlop. Like there was a few, you could probably make a list that we probably should have gotten.
Fogg and Motlop.
And it's not like that's the thing is there's been weeks where the chances that we've created have been pretty hard chances to convert. But these were chances that were easily convertible. Feels weird to use convertible in that context. Not sure if that's right. But it could have been better. It could have been, we could have seen something there in terms of working on that in season, but it wasn't to be because, you know, you can only create so many opportunities if you waste them all then. Like it kind of reminds me of the Sydney game in that sense. If you create opportunities and then waste them, that's probably just as bad as creating no opportunities in terms of the end result. So it was kind of positive, but also you need to be able to finish it off. So I don't know.
Yeah. Actually, one more question about this game. And maybe it is more of a zoom out high level question. So Pitto now is playing. De Koning is now playing with Pitto.
Yeah.
What's your read on this situation?
Yeah, it's difficult. Honestly, De Koning, in my book, had about 4 good games at the start of the year and then hadn't been playing great. I think that he's a player that really struggles. We saw it when he last had to make a call on his contract. He really struggles with that weight of expectation. I honestly think that Pitto coming in, obviously De Koning does kind of need to play that role forward. Obviously, you could probably find someone else to do it if you really needed De Koning in the ruck, but I think that Pitto coming in, he was obviously had some strong VFL form. I think that he's actually playing a better role in the ruck than what De Koning was prior. So I think it is actually working better for our mids. Obviously, you don't get the same around the ground impact. Well, maybe against Brisbane, but most of the time you don't get the same around the ground impact. So it is definitely a hard situation to be in because I think he is playing the role better than De Koning was before De Koning got shifted forward, at least in the more recent times, if you take away the first few rounds. But also he was playing well at the start of the year and we were still 0-4. So I don't know. I think that Pitto services the midfield in a way that allows them to play better than they otherwise would. I don't think some of them were playing as well, roving to De Koning. So, yeah, it's a bit difficult. What do you think about that thing?
Yeah, I agree with that. We actually highlighted it previously on the rating show just earlier with Pommy. You know, we've got big contested ball-winning guys there, like big, thick bodies in Pitto, Cripps, Hewitt. And it's almost like we're just ready, willing, and able to have like quicksters around them
100%.
who have the attributes. And it's just that's the missing ingredient now. And I was sort of suggesting names to Pommy earlier, like someone like a Jake Rogers, for example, and It's like,
Yeah.
you can
Good
just
call.
find these kids in the draft. Like they
Yeah.
won't be big. They're slight. I mean, Jagger would have been handy. I don't know how much of an impact he would have had. I do think he
Yeah.
would have been solid though. And
Yeah.
so, yeah, it's like it's not. It might be hard to see it right now. I find it really hard to see it right now, but it's not. It can be turned around pretty quickly, apparently.
I wish I found it hard to see, but I'm in the turnaround pretty quickly boat. I think that's I'm sure we'll touch on this later, but that's the apprehension that I would have towards the blow it up mindset is I think that it's so hard to see right now and it's so hard to think right now, especially
Yeah.
when you're watching the team every week or going to the games. But and I know that Vossi was saying this at the start of the year and there was plenty of people who necessarily weren't fans of it. Personally, I was, which, as I said, not everyone is going to agree, and that's fine. But there is a lot that went right at some point, not now. At the start of the season, there was a bit going right still. And I think in terms of the bones of the team, there is still enough going right that I wouldn't want to completely blow it up.
Yeah.
And you're right, just add some speed in there. I mean, it sucks, obviously, with Elijah Hollins, like Cotters. There's a lot of runners missing. Even Walsh at the moment, he wasn't running to his best ability at the start of the year, but get a full preseason into him. And then, yeah, definitely need some more depth in that area. So find a few of those people to plug the holes kind of across the board. And if you can find those cheaper sort of experienced guys who are kind of on the fringes of their teams, obviously if they're on the fringes of a good team, then that's probably even better because it's a better, sign of their future prospects. But we haven't done a lot of that in more recent times. So I think to be able to almost pull a Collingwood and plug those gaps with experience, we might be able to turn it around, I think, a lot quicker than what it might seem right now, which sounds a bit weird to say, but that's kind of the camp that I sit in.
Well, I never thought it would get this bad this quickly, so maybe it can get better quickly as well. And I just stay fluid with it,
Yeah.
All right. How good's that? Don't have to talk about round 18 anymore. It's done.
Goodbye, round 18.
Goodbye, round 18. Won't miss you. Although, to be fair, the previous two games I thought were worse to watch.
Definitely.
Yeah.
It's weird because for some reason I didn't find that game that hard to watch. And I think the margin could have easily been, for reasons we already discussed, a bit smaller. But it just felt better to watch. Like it felt a bit more positive than the previous weeks, which when you're playing a team that's in form like Brisbane is, I think it's, I don't know what your expectations were going in, but personally I wasn't. Maybe it's just because I wasn't arriving hoping to win. Maybe that's why it felt easier to watch. But
yeah, I get that. I wasn't arriving. To be honest, I arrived bracing like I have been the last few weeks. I thought because it was under the roof and the Lions can punish you off turnover especially, I thought, this could be a bloodbath, maybe 80 points, potentially 100 points. So from that point of view, maybe I lowered my expectations. But I keep using the analogy of dating in Melbourne as supporting Carlton. It's like you just find a way to just continue to show up, get willing a bit. You got to be willing to get vulnerable, to get hurt, and then you get disappointed every single time you try again, and then you just end up lowering the bar to the floor to the point where it doesn't exist. So
then everything above that just feels like a win. So
yeah. So,
fair enough.
Anyway, all right. Question for you. Question for the chat. Those of you watching at home. What do you like in your view? Like things are going wrong, right?
Yeah.
So it's like a big test. You find out a lot about anyone and anything when things don't go their way and it's going wrong. So what do you think the good clubs or the great clubs, because that's what we're hoping to be, what do you think the great clubs do when things go this wrong?
It's an interesting one. And I feel like people won't really like where I sit on this. I mean, obviously I haven't been inside the four walls of any club, but I think that, and it really is I feel like, as I said, people might not agree because it might just sound like I'm, endorsing the club's current messaging, but I think you really need to stick together and stay calm through the chaos. Like I think there's a lot to be said for just keeping your cool and not like throwing all the toys out of the cot, because that's not what strong leadership does, which is I actually quite like how they've approached this period of time, because I think that you could easily just, lose your head, succumb to the outside noise. But strong leadership, I think, is about being rational, being calm, staying committed to the cause while at the same time thinking, okay, there is some stuff we will have to change because it's not going right, but there is also stuff that is going right. So we just have to kind of focus in on that. This is why I don't really subscribe to blowing it up and trading all these star players when, and I know it's so hard to think now, and you can obviously look at this in a positive way or a negative way, but it was only a year ago that we were sitting here in a largely positive space. So of course it's terrible to fall that far away from there in this period of time. But even towards the back end of last year, there was obviously multiple reasons for that. But I think that there is something salvageable. So to be able to stay calm and cool, I mean, you can find negative examples, but I'll find a positive one in Adelaide last year, finished bottom 4, kind of backed in their processes, backed in Nicks, filled their gaps with some good experienced acquisitions, Cumming, Peatling, Neil Bullen. Then they also get natural progression from the players on their list. I mean, I feel like there's a lot of similarities there, even with their taller forward line. But I think the main thing is for me, I would say the way that, say, I see leadership in my everyday life is to be calm amongst chaos. So, yeah, I think that there's definitely something to be said for that.
Fair. Tommy, great teams never get to this position. That's what makes them great. Well, that's not true. That is not true. I mean, you're not just, I know that for a lot of Carlton fans, they were born into Carlton just being great. But that's not true. I think before Brisbane, had the dynasty, they struggled. Who was the next one? I think Geelong, prior to 2007, struggling. Richmond's obviously won as well. Collingwood were 2021 bottom 4, I think they were, or 2020, whatever it was. So Hawthorn as well. So it's, you're not just great. There is a way to turn it around. And I mean, you've got to come from somewhere. I think that's the important thing here. I mean, it's maybe half the battle is accepting it for what it is. I'll tell you something I've noticed I've noticed a lot, but especially in the comments in the live chat, right? So we're no longer, I mean, yes, we still call them star players, but I think that whole attachment to the individual is removing, and it's now like no matter what happens, no matter what decision it is, it has to be made for the betterment of the team.
Definitely.
And I can see a bit of that, like that idolization of the individual, and it has to be, Charlie has to be, or Harry has to be here, and Wiedering has to lift up the cups. Like, no, like whatever it's going to take. Like these people they're just normal people. They're not icons. And I actually think that's healthy.
Yeah, well, I think that is the thing. Is probably half the pressure of winning this year is because, fans, everyone wants to see this group of players hold the cup up. But I think even if you look at some of the decisions that have been made list-wise, is that, I don't know, because obviously it's not something that has been communicated that way, but I ran my fine-tooth comb over the list decisions, and it doesn't necessarily, obviously everything going right, it could have happened this year, but it doesn't look like this year was necessarily the year where the list was set up for, like, if we were going for one last hurrah, you would have gone for a Houston. You know what I mean? You wouldn't have chose the option where you're kind of dipping one toe in the now and dipping one toe in the later. Like, you could easily just neglect the longevity of the list and go all in on the now when you have players in that window. But I think it was almost like, look, we've got some holes that we need to address, but it's going to come with some hopefully short-term pain for some long-term gain in terms of all the depth being quite inexperienced as opposed to previous years. So, yeah.
So then, I guess the follow-up to that is, I don't know if I've asked you this. What would your first move be? You've put your eye on the club, and those of you at home, I think I've asked this last week as well. But if you haven't answered the question, what would your first move be? I mean, there's a priority of, maybe there's a list of 15 things. What's at the top?
For me personally, my first move would be to back Voss in.
Yeah, interesting.
Which, everyone has their own view on that, but for me, that's the first thing that I would do.
Do you mean extend him beyond the year next year?
No, I would keep it. I would back him in for one more year. Like, just hold true to the contract.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Because I think 1 year, this is kind of the way I see it. 1 year, if you just plug some holes around Voss. Look, I saw that stuff today about Jimmy Bartel being willing to pick up the phone, I think that would be amazing. But obviously won't get tied to that idea in case it doesn't come to fruition. I think that would be amazing. But if you're able to put some people around him, I just think, and obviously, as I said, there's always the reverse of this, but I just think the stability that has been fostered to some extent, obviously it was blown up a little bit in the preseason, needs to kind of stay that way to an extent because, we haven't had stability for such a long time. There has been some positives across Voss's time at Carlton. We got to see finals. We've played some good footy. It's obviously unravelled. But I think just because he only has one more year on his contract, I don't think it does a whole lot of damage to back him in for one more year, replace some pieces around him, hopefully bring in some more experienced role-playing recruits to plug the holes that we have and see what comes of it. If it doesn't work out, it's only been one more year. But, yeah, I know that not everyone would agree with that, but that is probably the way that I would approach it. Not that I've ever run a football club, but
No, I mean, we're all making the best guess possible.
Yeah.
So I take your point. My thing with that is, I guess it depends what kind of mindset you have. I mean, you back him. For me, if you're gonna back him in, extend him because it's Carlton. He's got a year left. You're really gonna wait.
It would be the talk of the year or next year.
Year.
As soon as we had one loss, if it was round 1, if it was round 5, it would come out. So I guess that makes sense. I hadn't thought of it in that way.
So from that point of view, I'm like, if you're going to stick with him, extend him. Otherwise, sort of go again and find the new coach with the new group. But I don't think they ever fulfilled what the recommendations were if they were going to hire Voss. I know that he wasn't the first choice, but when it was decided it was going to be him, the recommendations were he needs a strong group around him because he can play a role in a team and lead a group of coaches or whatever. So, I think there's that. Interesting.
I will say though, because I've been on the keep Voss bandwagon for a long period of time, which I know there's some people who've jumped onto the bandwagon, some people have fallen off the bandwagon of keeping Voss, which is fine. But I was at the member function before the Brisbane game, and Parko was the guest speaker, and he said that he would keep Voss.
Parko, David Parkin?
Yeah. So, not that his opinion is the be-all and end-all, but I thought that was a bit of interesting insight. And he said he's one of the best men that he knows. So, I personally think that from what I've seen from Voss, even the way that he's carried himself and the way that he's addressed the situation, the way that he's spoken, I know that people have their own opinions on it, but he hasn't necessarily said anything along that time that has been a major red flag for me. So, and I don't know what happens behind closed doors, but I think there is a lot of reasons for why this year has not panned out the way that it could have. But yeah, I don't know if it all falls on him. It's definitely difficult when you're the coach of Carlton as well, and there's so much speculation, there's so much media attention. I feel like it can't be beneficial, but that's what comes with the opposite as well. Once you achieve greatness, you'll get even more recognition. So
yeah, Gavin, I think Gavin's on the same wavelength as me here. So for me, it's the philosophy of the whole place. It's like priority number one. And I mean like the makeup of who makes decisions. I think when I zoom out and I think about the history of the club, we've just gotten out of this era where, we were broke, we were starved, and we needed to fix the off field in a sense and get the funds right. I think we're there. We're profitable. We don't rely on AFL money anymore. And maybe that can explain why we've had such a business-minded focus when it comes to decision makers. I think we're now in this era, and maybe with Graham Wright being appointed as the CEO, that is the changing of the philosophy or the start of it, potentially. Yeah. Bringing in football-minded people who come from an area where football comes first. And I think hopefully it's not like a half-baked job where you just get one in. I think you need a couple more.
Yeah. I definitely agree with that. I think that's a great way to look at it. But I guess that's also another reason why I hope that some stability stays, even to an extent, some stability in terms of the playing group as well. Like obviously there's certain people who won't make it to next season, but I think in terms of the core of the group, like unless there's something major going on behind the scenes that we don't know about, if you can bring in some of those right decision makers and some more footy minds especially, then I think there is enough to work with to change it pretty quickly. So I quite like that sentiment.
Yeah. So that's kind of, that's that. A little bit more into the future. Maybe we'll talk about the VFL. We'll go there, and that'll lead into the next part of this. So did you catch the VFL on Friday?
I did. I was trying to do some work at the same time, so I had it on mute. So it was a little bit harder to follow along than the previous weeks where I've been able to tune into the whole game. But
Yeah.
I did still try
So
my best to pay
I've
attention.
struggled with talking about the VFL because I haven't been myself. Like I've watched the highlights that Carlton Blues fans creates, but obviously they're just highlights. So this was the first Friday was the first time I went midday. I physically went there. I sat. Actually spoke to Paul Barbazar. Shout out to Paul Barbazar for about a quarter. And I mean, I don't know what the reports say or what the form says, but I didn't leave the VFL thinking, oh, the kids are definitely ready to play, personally.
Well, I think this is the thing is I tried to watch a fair bit of VFL this year. And I think there was a period of time where, as Carlton supporters, there was a whole group of people being like, well, we just need to unleash everyone that we have, which is a while back I wrote a piece on, our depth. And I think the problem is that it's not there at the moment. And I think that that's okay to an extent because a lot of the AFL listed VFL players that we have are quite new to the club. They're still in their development phase. The problem is we kind of stripped everyone else who was, say, even like a VFL leader, someone like a Paddy Dow who would play every week and had some experience and would kind of just jump up into the AFL side when necessary. Even Ed Kerno before he retired, those sorts of, your Will Setterfield types. We don't really have any of those resting in the VFL side at the moment. It's mainly just the young developing kids. So that kind of layer of depth and that layer of, well, who do we have to rely on is mainly just debutants, which I think it's 5 that we've had this year.
5 or 6, yeah.
5 or 6, yeah. And including like Moya, Binns, Lord all played their first games towards the back end of last year. So it's a lot of fresh, young talent who I think almost the weight of the world would feel like it's on their shoulders in terms of having to come in and step up. And let's be honest, they've had to come in and step up and play roles quicker than we would have liked. But I just think in terms of saying play this guy, play that guy out of the VFL, like they kind of still need to be in the VFL at the moment to keep developing.
Yeah.
So it is a bit between a rock and a hard place in that respect.
For sure. And I mean, it's tricky. I mean, like Wilson started pretty well, kicked a really nice goal to start the game. He also made some really poor errors by foot. I mean, they were playing against Brisbane, who had, I think it was 18 AFL listed players. And so it was actually a good hit out to compare the opposition that they were against.
Yeah.
I mean, Lucas uses his voice really well out there in the field, but he's still very, very raw, still makes some errors. Even Ben, I know that Ben's been suspended for 4 weeks. Maybe we'll touch on that shortly.
Yeah.
But I left there, honestly, the only two that I saw, and this is just my opinion, the only two that I saw with my eyes, and I thought, okay, maybe, obviously Jordan Boyd, I think, could do something at AFL level this week if he was to come back in, potentially, but wasn't the best. Harry Charleston, I didn't mind some of the things he did, and more so his decision making under pressure. That's what stood out for me.
Yeah, I think that he's been one that has definitely stood out across the VFL this year. But, I think just the landscape of the AFL side at the moment as well, in terms of just all the pressure and everything that's unfolding, is that maybe it would almost be better off for him to save his debut and to keep him developing in the VFL. But there's definitely is something there with him. So I think that's a positive to see that we've been able to identify that talent. But it is, it's a difficult spot, the VFL side at the moment.
Because this is the other part to the equation. So I was talking about that with Pommy, and then we had Doc's rating, for example, and he got a 3.6, and he made a point, and it's true. It's I'd rather that 3.6 be Billy Wilson than Sam Doherty. Because at least, okay, Billy might have not had a good game, but, there's room for improvement. Whereas for Doc, you're not going to get better.
Yeah.
So it's this cycle.
Yeah, I think it is a really hard spot with someone like him at the moment, because I can see why he's still in the side. I think that it is hard to see. But when you already have that backline already had Harry O'Farrell, it already had Matt Carroll, Cowan, I mean, is not necessarily fresh, but it was only his second game back from injury. It's not good to see experienced guys making mistakes, but you still need some experience out there, which I know it can be hard. Like, dropped acres already. Like, it can be really hard to find reasons as to why players aren't getting dropped. But the other thing is, I think the Doc had played reasonably well until last week. It wasn't his best outing at all.
Yeah.
Deserved that rating. But I think that, yeah, you definitely want to be developing the younger guys, but also the VFL side had been having some success like they've been playing decently together. So I almost think to build that rapport together will hold them in good stead for when they are all eventually in the senior side. But also at the same time, there is still a balance in the AFL side between kids and experienced players, which is something that I think has been a huge struggle for the club this year in terms of selection pressure, because of that element of younger kids in the VFL, there hasn't necessarily been people absolutely banging the door down like there are at other clubs waiting for their turn. Say it's somewhere like Hawthorn where Box Hill are just killing it. Like, they would have massive selection pressure. We don't necessarily have that. So it can be hard to, think, well, why isn't XYZ being dropped? And you need to kind of make a statement of people, but you also can't be just bringing people in for the sake of it. And kind of compromising, still putting your best team out there on the day. So I definitely agree with where you're coming from, but I think it is kind of nuanced in that perspective.
Well, the other thing as well, I mean, the VFL could still play finals. Like, they could still, I mean, they're still alive. Their season is still alive. Yeah. So, Lemmy, the other one that gets spoken about a lot, like, just throw him in. Yeah, maybe. VFL is going to struggle mightily with no target up forward. So what's more beneficial for Lemmy, playing in this dysfunctional AFL side right now that enter the ball inside 50 the way that they do, or spearheading an attack in the VFL, maybe going on a finals run and sort of using this as elite, as a springboard for next year? I don't know. Like, I don't know what the answer is. I'd like to also see Lemmy. It's interesting. He's got a really nice set shot. Like, really nice set shot. But he's not the strongest in contest and gets thrown around a bit. And it happened on Friday as well. So
against the more experienced bodies as well.
Yeah.
With those 18 AFL listed players. So
yes.
Yeah, it's definitely a fine line, I think, between throwing them in and keeping them in there for their development. And unfortunately, our VFL side, I mean, I think it's amazing that they're in that spot in terms of playing finals when you think of the type of players that are making up our VFL team, especially with the amount that we've had to push into our AFL team in more recent times. So, and I think it's great for those players to build that kind of experience together in terms of pushing towards that finals charge. So it depends what sort of development you're looking at, and I'm sure there would be plenty of conversations even around that Lemmy situation happening inside the club in terms of what is best for the player too. So I think it's a bit more complicated than just this person isn't performing the AFL side, we just need to swap them with this person. I think it would go a lot deeper than that at the moment.
Yeah. Gavin also mentioned here, like, whatever role you play in the VFL, that's the role you should be playing in the senior side. This was the other thing I noticed. So Blake Acres, obviously, in the twos, but playing at centre bounce, not in the wing. It's like, I don't know if we're seeing Blake at stoppage in the AFL if he comes back in. So,
it's difficult.
It's tricky. So that's that. So maybe just circling back to that conversation we had about the future. Talk about bold moves, right? Like, what's the boldest of bold moves you think could possibly be made, assuming that a bold move is going to happen? What do you think, and this is all just a guess, what do you think the big bold move will be, whether it's on field or off field or list or admin? What do you think it's going to be?
There's always something that happens that you don't expect. Like, even in everything that happened between the end of the season and the start of the season last year, there was stuff that we didn't expect, like even getting Jagger, for example. But honestly, this is so boring because we've pretty much already spoken about it. So I'm probably more keen to hear your bold move. But my bold move that I had written down was to just ignore the noise and embrace the calm, because as much as, and as I already said that, but as much as that seems obvious, like, to me, I feel like it's pretty bold considering the situation that we're in. So, like, I think that if that is what Carlton does, I don't think people will be happy. Do you know what I mean? Like, I think it would be one of those things where you'd think to yourself, well, this better pay off because there was so much you could have done. I think that, what do you think?
The bold, unexpected move.
It's going to involve a trade of someone, isn't it? Your one, I feel. or not?
I think a bold statement would be Graham Wright getting in front of a camera and saying to everyone, "Shut the fuck up. I'm extending Michael Voss for 3 years. Deal with it."
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. Yeah, that's more specific than what I said, but it's essentially what I would say. I was suggesting. Yeah, I think
I
that
think
would be
everyone
like if you think
that's
about it, that would be insanely bold considering
yeah.
like the circumstance and the narrative surrounding the club. It would be, yeah. It seems like the obvious bold move, if that makes sense. That it doesn't involve, shipping a star off to another club. Because personally, I don't think that. I think that most of us, well, quote unquote, star players, is like they need to stay, especially the spine that we've built, in my opinion, unless there's something
Or
they're
like one of the
disgruntled,
forwards.
something
Like
unrectifiable.
in my mind, it's like one of the 2 forwards goes
I
for
would no, yeah.
collateral and maybe like DeConing if he's gonna go, and then you use that opportunity to, get 3 or 4 pieces. Like for me, it's like it's either gonna be like that kind of bold
Yeah.
or bold in the terms of in the Carlton context, actually just sticking fat with
Yes.
it.
Which I know that obviously the whole sticking fat is a little controversial, but I think that
Yeah.
it's something that I actually think they need to they need to do themselves, like we have to do it, unfortunately, which we will anyway as Carlton supporters, keep rocking up and just back in whatever decision Graham Wright makes. But I think he needs to, obviously we haven't seen what he's seen. So unless he's seen something to suggest otherwise,
Yeah.
then go for your life, Graham. But I think that would be what you've said. I think I would definitely double down on. But,
Yeah.
I think that unfortunately, I think that DeConing leaving might be the thing to kind of also assist us to getting out of this situation. But it depends. Like obviously, if he wants to stay, that's ends up being great for the club. But I think having so many players, in more recent times tied to longer term contracts and it hasn't quite worked out how we hoped, like I feel like it almost could free us of the shackles of that a little bit.
Yeah.
And I think that, obviously the midfield group we have at the moment might not last for ages longer. Like there will obviously be change when Jagger comes in, Cody Walker eventually. Like there are a few parts that will be moving and it will make the midfield look a bit more dynamic and a bit different. But I think at the moment, as I said earlier, I just think they perform better with kind of just more of a tap ruckman that allows them to play to their strengths instead of almost having their strengths taken away from them. So it's difficult. It's definitely, and even for DeConing, like that sort of decision is very difficult because I feel like you can just tell that he wants to stay, but I don't know whether he'll end up staying. But I think he wants to, but that amount of money, it's
Just
hard.
back on the coach thing. Let's just say they go the other way and like it's
Yeah.
not Voss. What's more bold? A seasoned coach, I think of Longmire, for example, or a coach who's never coached before. Like, Skipworth's name's been thrown up, Lepich, Jan Syracuse. I don't know who's actually on the table, but like, what do you think is more bold in that regard?
Oh, I think that I honestly, this sounds weird, but I think like a Longmire or Simpson is almost more bold because that feels like the all or nothing
Mm,
in a way.
mm.
But then obviously you have an untried product otherwise. So, can you tell that I'm indecisive? But
I think we all are. I
there's
think I'm pretty
definitely so many
decisive on.
options. I'm
Yeah,
glad I'm not making the calls, but
pretty decisive on like change has to happen.
yes.
It's just a matter of how much. And I'm also very curious because everyone seems to have put, yes, Tim Hickmott's also another big one there. Kate Simpson is also a name. Carousella gets thrown out. Sure. I'm also very curious to see just how much people really do trust this Graham Wright appointment. Like,
Yeah.
what if he just says, "Hey, I'm Graham Wright. I know what I'm doing, and I know that Voss has to stick around." Like, is that going to get buy-in from everyone? Because like right now, everyone trusts Graham Wright's going to make the call.
Yeah.
Is that going to be the same on the 15th
Yeah.
of
No,
August?
that is very interesting. Because and I mean, even internally in the club, what people would be thinking, like, it's probably a difficult scenario to be in at the moment for everyone, knowing that he's probably about to swing the axe across the whole club. But yeah, if it's, you would probably have your own expectations, like as supporters having expectations and of what's going to happen. But yeah, I think that's the other thing as well for me personally. Whatever decision he does make, I think from everything that I've heard, I think that it would be worth backing that in. But yeah, it's different to think that it's worth backing it in compared to the people who actually have to give their all and give 100% trust in the process. I think it will be interesting to see that play out. But I think that hopefully those involved will need to give 100% trust to the process that he decides to undertake.
I'm literally just seeing the only Carlton edit. Like it's the Thanos with his glove, and you got like the 5 pieces, and he puts like a player on each piece.
It'd be good if you could insert that in here somehow.
Oh man. Anyway, all right. Interesting. So Saturday night, what are you doing?
I'll be there.
You'll be there?
I'll be there.
I'm doing something very different on Saturday.
Do you think it'll be luckier if you're not there?
No, I'll be there.
Oh, okay. Just checking whether you'd gotten superstitious or not at this
No,
point.
no. I'll be there. I am going to the game with Pommy. This is a big deal. He hasn't been to a game since round 2, 2021.
Wow.
Yeah. So we're heading in. We're doing the President's Club function.
Awesome.
So yeah, it's a big deal. Pommy's got more importantly, Pommy's going to a game. Like he's actually going to be there.
It's just a lucky charm that we need.
Well, to be fair, the last time he was there, he retired from fan cams and blew abroad. We played the Pies round 2, 2021. So hopefully it's not that bad, but yeah, it'll be fun.
No, that sounds good. I think that, the more that everyone can, if you're able to, the more that everyone can keep showing up and bringing the energy. I just think that's so important at a time like now. Just as important as it is when you're on top. And I mean, we've seen before the impact that the crowd can have in a Melbourne game. So, I think it's good to get there. And I also just think you see the game better when you're at the ground, for me personally, which is why I like to go. But I'm fortunate enough to be able to go most weeks anyway, which works out well for me. But yeah, also just to show the support, I think is important in a time like this too.
Yeah. So first question for you and everyone watching, what is your expectation on Saturday? Whether you're going, whether you're going to be watching from home, like yes, before you sit down, before the game starts, what's the expectation?
The past 2 weeks, I've considered the fact that the opposition has been pretty difficult. Even in the Port Adelaide game, playing at Adelaide Oval, and they had probably one of their best sides listed that they'd listed all year. But this game, I'm heading into it, and unfortunately, I'm expecting to win.
Totally agree.
Yeah.
Totally agree.
You have to be able to win this game. Yeah.
Yep. Okay. We're on the same page.
Okay,
I know you can set yourself up for disappointment, but like win. It's winnable.
This one is winnable. For the past few weeks, there's been the effort obviously in the Port Adelaide game was, it's been spoken about. But I think the last few have not been winnable. But this one, it's there. You have to grab it while it's there. If you want people to stop the outside noise, you can't lose this game.
Yep. Fair. Okay. Interesting. We're not winning. We will lose, unfortunately. That's okay.
Each to their own.
Each to their own. Pommy will soon realize how bad the atmosphere is. Okay. Okay, fair enough, Damien. Dead and buried. Okay, Essendon is the actual winnable one.
Well, yeah, you'd hope so. But I think I saw enough last week against Brisbane, who were in form, to suggest that we should be able to beat Melbourne. And I did watch Melbourne and North play yesterday. So I think that even watching that, I thought we have to be able to beat them. And I think we match up quite well against Melbourne. We have for a few years now. So
yeah, just one more.
I'm okay to be called delusional. It wouldn't be the first time. So
man,
I understand. It's okay.
Not a chance. Fair. Yeah, I won't be surprised by a loss.
No,
but I'm going in there thinking we can win.
Yeah, I agree.
The only just like that. Anyway. Okay, next question. Your changes. So let's just set the scene. Fantasia, I don't think will play.
Yeah.
McGovern, I think he had hamstring awareness or something.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. There's always something new on a Tuesday when the injury update is released. But I think, well, maybe just if it's bad, just rest him. Like we've probably learned from that. I think
Okay.
in the past. But
Was that the only two? Someone told me Williams might have been a bit sore, but I didn't see that.
yeah, he got a knee knock. What was
Okay.
that the week before?
Oh, that was the
Was
week
that the week
before.
before? I'm getting confused now. No, I think he was a bit. Oh, he had cramp. Sorry.
Cramp.
Well, I think so. I was thinking his hammy's gone, but it looked like cramp towards the end of it. But once he,
Okay.
the way he was walking, it looked like cramp. So fingers crossed on that front because he needs to be in the team. So
Right.
especially.
So those two, and then I think Adam Sard will be out of concussion protocols, and
Yeah.
we'll see tomorrow. But Harry Mackay might be available, maybe round 19, round 20. So, what would you want to see?
Also, Silvani as well, I think, will become available.
True.
Is that
Actually,
correct? Round 19?
why
Oh, no, that was round 19.
how about I just check the injury report and see what it
Yeah.
says?
No,
from
I think
last
it's
week?
Sard, Silvani, and asterisks on Harry, either 19 or 20.
Right.
Around 19 or around 20. Obviously, if those three are available, you would. Well, that's the thing. For me, I don't know. I think maybe just with the way the backline played last week, maybe you would need. I don't know. What's your thoughts on whether Sard comes straight back in?
Oh, if Sard's available, my thoughts are he definitely plays.
Yeah.
It's okay. So Jack Silvani, availability round 19. He's been managing the groin soreness. He will be given the next fortnight to recover. This was the 1st of July. Okay. So, and then Harry was round 19 to 20.
Yeah.
So it could be this week, could be next week.
It would be incredible to get all three of them back.
Yep. We would win if all three played.
Yes. Obviously. No, I agree with that. But I think the question is, do you just bring Mackay in and forgo an extra small, like in terms of Raz not being available? That's
I think
probably
so.
what I would do. Yeah. But
I'm
then,
also not sure if Fogarty would keep his spot. I
yeah,
mean,
I don't
you
think
could
so.
drop any of them. I thought he,
It's a bit of a
Durden.
raffle at the moment. Yeah.
Yeah.
Unfortunately. But I think as well, like in terms of Harry O'Farrell's role, like obviously it depends on McGovern as well. I mean, playing forward anyway, but like is he a straight out for Silvani, or do you try and make something work there and see if he can continue playing? I mean, he's obviously quite raw, but his effort against Brisbane was amazing, I thought.
I thought so too.
He's at the point where you'd probably prefer him to keep developing, but he really put it all out there. So I think it would feel a bit unfair to get dropped after that.
There's also a 5-day break between this game and the next game. We're playing Saturday into Thursday.
True.
So maybe you just hold off on Jack Silvani for one more week.
Yeah, that's true. Definitely options. But that's interesting. I hadn't considered to look towards the week after as well. But I wouldn't be mad about that. I'd obviously love Silvani to be back out there, but I think that again, that's the thing though. Against Collingwood, obviously he struggled a bit more, but I think in the situation of playing Melbourne, I think that he should be okay in that role. So
I'm just going to put a poll up. It's round 19 this week, right? I've got that right?
Yeah.
Okay. Those of you watching, Chloe, I know you're going to be there. So will you be attending? Will you be attending round 19? The poll is in the live chat. I'm really curious to see what this is going to say. There's 200 flat of you watching right now. Crowd predictions. I was surprised by 32,000, by the way, last week.
In a good way or a bad way?
I guess in a good way. I thought it would be 27, 28 for sure.
Yeah. No, there was a solid showing. So crowd prediction. Well, it's a bit difficult sometimes playing Melbourne.
Well, you're only getting 8,000 Ds.
Yeah. What's the weather like? Is it going to be freezing? Haven't even checked.
Tentative weather check.
Get our ponchos out.
13 degrees, 40% chance of rain. Ugh.
Okay.
Participation. Yup. And it's like, okay, could be raining at like 6 p.m. at this point. So let's just say it's going to be cold and wet.
It's not going to be ideal viewing conditions.
Mm.
I don't know.
I think
I don't know.
32,000 again.
Really?
Yep.
Yeah, it depends. Maybe I would hope we could get a bit more than that. But
It's got like a
the
cold,
weather, yeah,
it's got like
the
a cold,
situation.
wet, low-scoring game written all over it.
It does,
Thriller in the last, 10 minutes.
as per
Yep.
usual.
As
Yeah.
per usual against the D's.
Yeah. I hope it would be a bit more than that, but I guess that's the reasonable expectation.
64% of people who have voted say no, they will not be attending.
Oh, okay. Maybe 20,000. Just kidding.
Can't be worse than 26,000 at the MCG against Gold Coast a few years ago.
Yeah.
That was bad. All right. Chloe, that was great. Thanks for joining.
Happy to be here. Good
Yeah.
to talk about a few of the issues. I hope, as well as everyone else, that the right decisions are made. But for now, all we can do is hope and speculate. But always happy to chat, Carlton.
Can't wait to have these same questions raised next Monday about the future
Yeah.
of the club. Oh, dear. Ladies and gents, those of you watching, thanks for tuning in. See you tomorrow. Lots happening. Oh, sorry. Training. Are you going to training tomorrow?
I'm not. I have work tomorrow. I was going to try and move some pieces around to try to get there, but I don't think it'll work out. So I'm a bit disappointed about that. But will you be there?
I will be at training tomorrow morning. I will have some sort of, I think I'll have a report ready for it. Depends how they train.
Yeah.
Wowdy, good question. Will there be a tribunal watch along? I don't know when Chera's tribunal is happening, and I also don't know if we're going to be challenging the Ben Camporelli suspension. But if there is a tribunal tomorrow, best believe we will be here following every single step of it. What's your gut feel actually with the Chera thing before we go?
I'm just feeling a heavy fine. I'm not feeling a suspension.
Yeah.
I think that seems to be the common consensus.
I think they might.
But knowing our luck at the moment.
Yeah, well, I think they might try and make an example out of him.
Yeah, I think if it was worse, the hit, I think it would be more acceptable. But yeah, I don't know. It's one of those things where it's kind of uncharted waters. So I'm just hoping really for a heavy fine. I don't think it was necessarily suspension worthy, but I guess it depends how they're going to look at it and how they want to be able to judge it in the future. So you're right. They might just make an example out of him. I hope that's not the case. I think it would be disappointing, definitely, if that was a suspension.
Yeah,
but so I think the heavy fine would be probably the best outcome.
Yep.
Maybe a less heavy fine would be a better outcome, but I think that's, for me, the most likely outcome. But
yeah,
we'll keep our fingers crossed.
we will. All right, guys. See you tomorrow. Go Blues.